Welcome back to Straight Facts, and Husam will be smiling because he's now on the intro. He's on the intro now.
Hashtag KJN. KJ, you unmessed up your original mess up. Now I can see my beautiful face on there, so I'm happy. And Straight Facts is one of my favorite shows to do on YouTube because we can just talk straight facts. So
Straight facts. Exactly. Viewers, hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribing. The bell notification is turned on as well. Lots to talk about today. Newcastle outraged with their new £30 million a season shirt sponsor. It really is. There's certain fan bases online as well that are fuming about it. We talk about the England mess, the squad that Southgate picked. 3 or 4 of the players should be nowhere near it. It's outrageous. Of course, we're talking transfers. 100 million Harry Kane bid. We're looking at Alexis Mac-Allister to Liverpool, which is, by all intents and purposes, a done deal. And we're going to have a little look at Arsenal. Sam hasn't really had his say yet on Arsenal's end of the season. Plus, we're looking ahead of their transfer window, which includes the likes of Caicedo and much more. So stick with us throughout. The first story I wanted to start with, though, today with you, Husam, is according to Jacob Steinbeck, Manchester United will attempt to have a smooth negotiation with Tottenham. I laughed when I read that, to be fair, by bidding as quickly as possible for Harry Kane. In separate reports, there's talk of a £100 million bid being submitted right at the end of the season, stroke the beginning of the new campaign. Do you think this is the best approach for Man United? And do you think they can get this job done early for Harry Kane?
I mean, that's a lot of questions. The one thing that I definitely don't think it's going to be is smooth. Ain't nothing smooth with Daniel Levy. There is just nothing smooth when dealing with that human being. People think that
his head. That's the only thing that's a little smooth.
That is 100% fair. But other than that, when it comes to footballing stuff, like, I don't see it being smooth at all. Like, the Spurs, dealing with Spurs is kind of becoming like dealing with Lyon and Napoli a little bit. When it comes to, maybe their sales and stuff, they kind of like, it's always like a problem. I don't see it being smooth. I see this becoming a saga easily could take 2 months of the transfer window. And every day we're like, oh, Harry Kane this, Harry Kane that. And all I have to do is take my mind back to before the transfer window started 2 years ago. And we were all certain that Harry Kane is going to become a City player. And now we're sat here. He still is playing for Tottenham Hotspur 2 years later. There's still a lot of Spurs fans as well who think that Harry Kane might remain at Tottenham Hotspur. So that's another possibility. As to when will it be a good signing? I think it will. Definitely will be a good signing. Massive upgrade on what you currently have. I know Martial FC will be very upset with that, but it's just the truth. Because he can do all what Martial does, and he scores goals, and he stays fit, and he's Premier League proven. So, he kind of he's a complete footballer. He's been having an unbelievable season as well. People have been focusing on Haaland actually all the time, but Harry Kane is low-key having a very good season. I think he's definitely a player that will elevate Manchester United. But here's the thing. You look at his age, and from a realistic perspective, how many good years is he going to give you? I think he might give you 2 good years. Now, this would be a success. When I say 2 good years, I mean like 2 Harry Kane level years. Would this be a success? I think we will find out if in that 2-year window they win the league, God forbid, or win the Champions League, God forbid. Then it'll be like, like they proper have had success here. But I think this is long overdue. And I don't like when a player like Harry Kane is stuck at Tottenham Hotspur. And now people's going to come at me and say stuff like, oh, Sam, you're a Liverpool fan. Gerrard was stuck at Liverpool. But there's genuinely a difference in which Gerrard won everything but one competition. So, like, he was at least part of winning teams that kind of won everything there is to win other than that one specific competition. With Harry Kane, you look at him, he's 30-something years old. He's actually never lifted anything his whole life. He's actually, like, we're talking not even a Carabao Cup, not even an FA Cup, nothing. This is the problem. So, like, for me personally, I think you need to get him out of Tottenham. And I'm not even just talking about legacy conversations or any of that, but just for his own career. Because he can't retire and all he sees in his closet is golden boots and stuff like that. Like, you need to put something up there. Put something up there. So, I think it would be successful, not maybe for a long period. Like, it would have been if you signed him maybe 4 years ago, like it was rumored, 3 years ago, like that. So, but it definitely is going to be a headache. Get ready for a transfer saga, Terry. You're going to speak on Kane minimum 15 times. Minimum.
It will definitely be a saga, and I get us wanting to get it done early. The only way I see it being done early is if Levy has already agreed behind the scenes with Kane 100%. As long as we hit a certain amount, it will be done. I don't think they'll play him again like they did last time. A lot of people had to go at Kane in his last window that he behaved wrong. He didn't come back after pre-season. That was all. That's Fugazi. He was told. He said goodbye to everybody in his last training session. He was told they were going to let him go if the right amount of money was bid. The right amount of money was bid, but the board at Tottenham moved the goalpost, and Harry Kane was kind of left between a rock and a hard place. So, look, don't do any interviews. Don't go to any golf courses with Gary Neville to kind of sort of throw salt in anybody's eye. But I think we can get this deal done. And I believe it's a deal that Man United want massively. And I also think there was a big debate I saw online yesterday about will Harry Kane be enough to win Man United the Premier League? Alone, of course not. By himself, never in a million years. But with the summer, I believe we can have, if we get new owners, and I always have to precurse it with that, Harry Kane would be a star. The only thing I disagree in terms of what you said about the player, I think we can get at least 3 good years out of him. I believe we can get at least 3 good years. I've seen a lot of people out there who have kind of, so what's the way of wording this? Yeah, but what happens in 3 years' time? I'll tell you what happens in 3 years' time. You go out and you buy the next best available striker in the world. Unless they're playing, in my opinion, for City or Liverpool or Real Madrid or Barca, I don't think there's a club in the world you can't take a number 9 off of. And even when it comes to Barca and Real Madrid, with the money the Premier League has and the money we'll get if we get Qatari owners, we'll just go and buy someone. I'm not even worried about what the next 3 years looks like or the next 5 years looks like. I couldn't give a damn about that. Bring in Harry Kane. I know there's a lot of talk about Neymar and, our managers.
I was going to ask you that, actually.
I get that. Like, Harry Kane would definitely do us a great job for Man United. You saw, I wish Lee Gunner was on today because he'd be mudded today. Your manager, I don't know who he's listed. I don't know what Man United fans influencing him, but your manager never calls out any players. Ten Hag literally today called out Martial. Said when he plays and when he's fit and when he's firing, he's good. But because he's always injured, he can't score goals and he can't deliver for us. He must be available. Now that is calling a player out. That's not being nasty. He's not being horrible, but he's speaking the truth. That's why I look at Harry Kane. People say he's got injury problems. He started the last 73 Spurs league games. 73 games on the bounce in the league he's played. He hasn't got injury problems. He had a few bad ankle injuries where he went into stupid tackles. He stopped doing that now. He isn't picking up those injuries. I know a lot of people are talking about Neymar. Neymar technically is a better football player than Harry Kane. But over the course of a season in the Premier League, Harry Kane will deliver more for Man United than Neymar will, simply because Neymar is going to spend 2/3 of the season in the medical room or back in Brazil partying and living his best life. And fair play to him. But Harry Kane for me every day of the week.
So you wouldn't take Neymar?
Only on his injury record, mate. That injury record is mad. He averages 16 starts in the league for 6 years running.
I know. I wouldn't take him either. I'm just glad we're on the same page because I was about to start an argument if you said yes. I don't know why people want him at this stage of his career. My thing is like his mentality is gone as well. He literally did an interview. I think it was like even like 12 months ago, 6 months ago, something like that, where he was talking about MLS already. He ain't ready for this Premier League smoke. I'm going to be honest with you. But the thing is with Kane, when you say 3 good years, I think he turns 30 this summer. So you have 30, 31, 32. That's fair. But what do you say he remains at Harry Kane level, though? Because the thing is, he's played a lot of football. Like, since he broke through, he's essentially been playing Euros, World Cup, Nations League, England, Spurs. He's been playing, like, all the time. So, like, I hear that, but he might just have a little bit of fatigue, when he's 32, 33. Not necessarily get to Kane level, but he could get you 15 goals easily.
He certainly could. What's really interesting, though, is nobody's telling City to sell KDB, who's older than him. If KDB signed a new deal for another 3 or 4 years now, nobody would bat an eyelid because he's delivering at a top team. I understand the question with Kane, because it's a lot of money to invest and you're not going to get 10 years out of him. But I think fans are overly obsessed. I saw Arsenal fans this week say, why buy or sign Gundogan. You wouldn't buy him; he's free. Why sign Gundogan, who's only going to give you 3 or 4 top years? And I sit there and just think to myself, if you just go out and buy 21-year-olds who can give you a decade, you're never going to win anything. You need a mixture of players. And I think a player like Harry Kane, with his playmaking ability and his goal-scoring ability, you add his performances this season to this Man United team, I don't think we win the league, but I think we'd remain in the Europa League and would be far closer to Man City. And there'd be a lot more hype about this team. I went back through with KJ the other day, all these games that we've played, where we were the better team, and we listed about 11 of them, but we only won by 1 goal, maybe 2 goals with a late last minute. But we had so many chances in the game. We averaged in those games 29 shots. Now, you throw Harry Kane into that team, we win 2-3, 4-0 in most of those games, and suddenly Man United look a much scarier opponent. That gets into the psyche of your rivals. Scoring goals is key. We only conceded 8 goals at home in the league this year. And our away record was 5th. And we took a hammering 3 times away from home this year. We're not going to mention what games they were. We got a hammering 3 or 4 times. But outside of that, a lot of our games where we lost or drew, it was narrow. But go back to the games, we had umpteen chances to score goals and we couldn't convert them. Harry Kane, or a player of his ilk, is so key for us. And on the Neymar thing, if Neymar could stay fit, I'd have him tomorrow. I'd have him tomorrow. His output return versus how many games he plays. I know it's in France, but it's immaculate. The problem is in those. I mean, what Lee Gunner countered his argument with yesterday was, well, buy Harry Kane and Neymar at the same time. And my view is, I even with Qataris,
that's what I was saying. Why don't you just do both?
Maybe if we've got the Qataris, and as long as we address other positions, and I think from a United fan's point of view is this.
Which other positions?
Yeah, so we need a new goalie that can play it from the back. We need at least 1 new centre back. So we're looking at Kim Min-jae, and we need a midfielder or 2. So Sabitzer probably may not be re-signed. We still want our long-term playmaker in the middle, who I still think the target is going to be De Jong this summer. We've got to address those areas. Now, if we sign all those players and we bring in Neymar and Harry Kane, you won't see me complain. The problem is, if we throw all the money in the wages at Neymar, but don't get the centre back and don't get the goalkeeper, as much as we'll score more goals, I still don't think we'll have built the foundation to be able to create as many opportunities as I want us to. So we need to be sensible as fans here and not just go for the bright, shiny toy because it's fashionable and brilliant and amazing on its day. We need to look at the foundation and get it done. You know, there's no point going out and buying the best sofa and 3-piece suite in the world for your living room when your house has got no roof on it, because it'll get ruined. So we just need to be careful. But I'm not against Neymar. A lot of people are. I don't really get the anger some people have towards him.
It's just the injuries. It's just the injuries.
Mine's based on injuries only. That's kind of it. But I think there's still £100 million Harry Kane. Get it done. Bring him in. Improve Man United, and we kind of move on from there.
Would you accept if they say we're gonna sign Harry Kane next summer on a free? And don't pay the 100 now. Just wait a year.
As long as there was somebody else who brought in to score the goals, it wouldn't bother me. So we're looking at Ferguson next summer. Yeah. I know a number of teams are. We're looking at Ferguson. I don't mind us delaying that for a year, as long as we have enough players to score goals this season. Does that make sense? It's almost fair. You know, you look at like Man City. They've got Haaland, they're buzzing, but they've only got Haaland because, and this is the irony in it, they've only got Haaland because they couldn't land Harry Kane. If they signed Harry Kane the year prior, they would not have signed Haaland this year. They wouldn't have done it.
Yeah, of course they wouldn't have. Of course.
So it's one of those things where a bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush. You know, you have to strike while the iron is hot. You go, right, we won't do it now. We'll wait till next year. What if Harry Kane, heaven forbid, breaks his leg and is never the same player again? Then you've had a whole year without him, and then you're not going to get him in. I mean, the irony is, you're a Liverpool fan. It's what you did with Jude Bellingham. Next time. Now he's going Real Madrid. You just can't take that risk. You know, for me, you can't take that risk. You have to. If you don't get him, there has to be somebody else out there that you go and buy. Usherman as an example. I mean, I always wanted and liked Ivan Toney, but he ain't playing until January now. Although I would tempt to getting him now at a cheaper rate because he's not available.
Buy him, get him for 30 million, 40 million, something like that. That would be a bargain. And
he can't train with. This is the madness of his band. He can't even train at training grounds, so he's gonna have to train privately. But even then, with the level, all you would do is you say to some of your coaches, right, when you finish here, you got to go and do an hour with Ivan Toney in the park. Do you know what I mean? There's a way around it. And
he could still stay fit, like.
Yeah, he should do. Imagine if he comes back in January. Remember Thor in Endgame? Just turns up, belly, overweight. I've not been traded. But that would be the harshest ban if he was banned from all football activities. If he's even caught in a gym, he's done for life. They should do that for a lot.
Imagine, imagine
yeah.
he's just out here in a park just shooting at someone, and
Yeah,
it's like, oh, you're
I
banned.
saw you exercising. They obviously can't do that because people are allowed to exercise. But yeah, it's a crazy ban. It's a crazy ban in relation to that. In terms of Liverpool, we are going to talk more Liverpool later on the show. But Alexis Mac-Allister is very close to completing his deal. There was talk a few days ago of like hijack coming in. That was very quickly kind of pushed down by the most of the media that isn't going to happen. And it looks like he's going to be a Liverpool player. How happy are you with that deal, mate?
Do you want us to just get on to Liverpool now? I'm ready.
We might as well. We might as well.
You know, the thing is, like with this Mac-Allister stuff, first of all, I think it was Chelsea, the club that was apparently rumored to take the like Mac-Allister away. And with all due respect, this ain't like 10 years ago. There's Chelsea just not more attractive than us, full stop at this moment in time. You know, maybe the only thing they can offer more than us is money. But other than that, we've got the manager, the team, the attraction. You know, we've recently won, you know, the big trophies, all of that good stuff. So I don't think if Mac-Allister was going to be tempted away from Liverpool Football Club, he would have been tempted maybe. If you told me he is going to get tempted by City, I'd say fair enough. If you tell me he's gonna, you know, get tempted by someone like that, it'd be like fair enough. But I just think Chelsea Football Club can't tempt him away. The thing is with this Mac-Allister stuff, this whole summer is never gonna be about one guy. It's never gonna be about one guy. It's gonna be the package deal concept. What I mean by that is, what are you giving me as a whole? Because Mac-Allister could be a part of a very disappointing summer, and Mac-Allister could be a part of an unbelievable summer. So it depends on the rest of the players. Mac-Allister is nothing but a good start. For me personally, I'm not as high on Mac-Allister as others, but I would take him. I think he's brilliant. I don't think he's as amazing and unbelievable as people make out. I think, you know, he's a complete midfielder, can affect offensively, has good work rate, World Cup winner, which is brilliant, which is why I think, for me, I'm actually more sold on the World Cup winner stuff than anything else, because I think if you survive alongside Messi in Argentina and all of that, you kind of get like, you know, you have that thing where like, okay, he's surrounded by world-class players and he still performs, which I like. So that's a positive indication for me. And he didn't look out of place. He played in the World Cup final, semi-final, everything. And it's not like Mac-Allister was like, oh shit, he's sticking out like a sour thumb, he's crap. Like, no, he looked perfectly in place to play for Argentina. So I like that about him. He's going to immediately become our best midfielder, not called Thiago. You know, but Thiago, unfortunately, is always injured. The thing is with Liverpool, really, my biggest issue with Liverpool Football Club is not even the institution, the ownership, the manager, the conversations now around the fan base. It is kind of what angers me beyond anything. And the reason why, like, every time you speak to a Liverpool fan, they're like, oh, just get back into top 4, challenge, and all this, you know, all this crap. In my mind, for next season, it's Premier League or bust. We have to win the Premier League or we have failed, full stop. And people go like, Husam, are you crazy? How can you say we're going to win the Premier League? Thing is, if you go back to this season and just add 9 wins from this season, we're Premier League winners, based even on how shit we've been this year. Add 9 wins, and when I say add 9 wins, I'm not even saying beat Man United away, beat City away. I'm saying beat Fulham. I'm saying beat Palace. I'm saying beat Villa, Chelsea. I'm saying like beat the crap teams, and you can become Premier League winners. And people come at me and say, Husam, how are we going to win the Premier League when blah, blah, blah? You see, people, this is the problem with people. People look at this Liverpool side and go like, oh, they finished 5th, so they can't go and win the Premier League. There have been plenty of examples of teams in the Premier League who finished even lower than 5th, but because they had that spine, the spine of Liverpool is Alisson, Trent, Van Dijk, Robertson, Fabinho, Salah, players like that. The players who have been there, done that. If I surround them with other good players, we are more than capable of winning the English Premier League. And there's another thing as well, an extra caveat. You look at the Europa League. I don't think Klopp's going to take the Europa League seriously at all. I don't expect to see Salah.
Do you agree with that, though?
Yes.
Why?
And I'll tell you why.
Why?
I'll tell you why. The reason I agree with that is the players, Klopp and FSG, are responsible for why we're in the Europa League anyway. So I get if someone tells me you need to take it seriously, blah, blah, blah. It's a trophy. I agree with that. But I would rather field a strong 11 every single Premier League game for 38 games, our strongest 11, and win that English Premier League than care about the Europa League. And the thing is, these group of players have won the Champions League. So winning the Europa League ain't going to be like, and by the way, if next season we finish third and we win the Europa League, no one's going to go like, oh guys, it's an amazing season because we won the Europa League. No one's going to say that because the Europa League is not our standard. Man United and Newcastle both deserve to finish above us based on their performances. They performed better than us. However, on paper, I'm saying, on paper as a team, it is a Champions League team. And because of that, if I focus on the English Premier League week in, week out, and I field a strong 11 Saturday, and then the next Saturday, and then the next Sunday, and then the next Saturday, and I take the Premier League just from start immediately, just absolutely seriously, I can win the English Premier League, and we can go on a run, and we've shown we can do that before. This is like us after that Chelsea season where they finished 10th, where people went like, oh, Chelsea finished 10th, ha, ha, ha. But they knew that the core was there. So they surrounded that core with good players and suddenly, boom, they won the league. So I think we are capable of winning the English Premier League. And I think that should be our absolute focus next season. The last thing I need is a Salah or a Van Dijk or a Konate or a Trent or someone like that getting injured in a Europa League game. Look at Arsenal this season. Saliba. If you could go back to Mac-Allister right now, tell him, yo, just take Saliba out that Europa League game and just keep him for the Prem. Would you do it? He'd say absolutely. And there's a difference between us and Arsenal. And I know I'm going on a rant here, but I'm just expressing my emotion because I'm frustrated with my fan base. I learned that last summer I wasn't negative enough. So this summer I need to be extra negative. Because last summer at least I said we're going to finish second, but I said we won't win the Prem. People called me negative. I should have been extra negative because we just finished fifth. So the thing is with Saliba, if he stayed, Arsenal probably would have ended up winning 1 or 2 games of the ones that they dropped points to West Ham, Southampton, etc. And the difference between us and Arsenal is we're not bottle jobs. In the place that Arsenal were in, leading City by that much of a margin, heading into the end of the season, we win that English Premier League. If you tell me right now, Husam, in April, you're going to be 11 points ahead of City, I'm telling you, Premier League winner. Done. I know, because when we smell blood, we smell blood. And the difference between us and them is 18-19, we were leading Man City. We still have that bottle gene because we haven't done it yet. But the difference is that season we went on to win the champs. And I'm being completely blunt right here, right now. If we didn't win the champs, this whole thing would have been looking completely different. So I'm so happy we won that Champions League.
I got a question though. Why can't you, with the good summer, because you won't win the Premier League without a good summer. I think we've ascertained
100%.
that. So if you had that good summer, Alexis Mac-Allister, the deal looks done. You throw in Caicedo as an example, a top centre back, because you need at least one new centre back because your guys aren't it anymore. If you do that and a bit more, why can't you win both? Why can't you? And I'm not saying take every group game in the Europa League 100% seriously in terms of your best team, because I think what you should do, a little bit of rotation, qualify through the group, and then see where you are in the league come February and March when the knockout games begin. Because if you're in the title race, then fair enough. Maybe you go, right, we're going to play our strongest team on the weekends and slightly rotate for the Thursday nights. But if you're 15, 20 points off the top come February, wouldn't you rather be in the Europa League with a chance to win a trophy that year? So I think you've got to balance it right. But the big question is, why can't you win both? Why is it impossible for Klopp to win both?
I don't think it's impossible to win both, but I'm talking about priorities and focus. And I'll give you now a very realistic scenario that could genuinely happen. And I'm being that serious right here. I'm not going to say something hypothetically wild. It's April time. It's May time, whatever. I am 5 points ahead of City, 4 points ahead of City with 3-4 games to go. I play Sevilla in the Europa League semi-final. I play Sporting Lisbon, whoever. Do you think at that moment in time I would give a single flying you-know-what about Sevilla or Lisbon? Or would I rather win that English Premier League? Because the truth is, come next summer, Terry is going to be asking me, Husam, do you think now that you didn't win the title, you have had a bad season, even though you won the Europa, you'd at least, question whether this team is a Europa League team, blah, blah, blah. If we won the Prem, no one's going to say anything about us having a bad season. It will be absolutely a success. For me, the context matters. So I agree with you. If I'm 20 points behind, 15 points behind, first of all, I will question why we're 15, 20 points behind. Second of all, I won't be happy at all. I'll be extremely upset. and I'll be asking questions about every single person related to Liverpool Football Club. Third of all, if I'm 15 points behind, then yes, with all, you know, go ahead, play Salah in the Europa League. But what I'm saying, in a realistic scenario, if I'm playing my substitutes, you know this as well. Let's cut the BS here. You can beat Shamrock Rovers, Karabag, all these guys with your bench.
Question for you though, bruv, is this:
Yes.
are you not displaying the same mentality that Arsenal have been bantered with for the last 2 months of bigger fish to fry? Is it not the same mentality of don't worry about this, don't worry about the League Cup, don't worry about the Europa League, we're going for the Prem and that's all that matters? Is that kind of approach the wrong mentality for a club with Liverpool's decorated history?
I'll tell you why it's the right mentality. Because with Liverpool, we win that league. If Liverpool were in Arsenal's position, I'm sat here Premier League winner. With all due respect, Arsenal don't have the cojones, they don't have the bottle, they don't have the experience. 1920 has given us the experience. We know when we smell blood what happens. So when I say I got bigger fish to fry, I'm not an Arsenal fan. When I say I got bigger fish to fry, I go and I hunt the shark and I cook it and I barbecue it and I win that league. So if you right now offer me, Terry Flowers offers Husam, you're going to be 11 points ahead in April, I say, give me right now. We're Premier League winners. I tell you from this very second, I am a Premier League champion next season. And the thing is, for me, like, with all due respect, Salah, Alisson, Trent, Van Dijk, Robertson, Fabinho, Thiago, these guys, you can't be sat here on one Prem and one champs. You just can't. Players of that stature, Mo Salah, if he scores 1 goal against Southampton, overtake Henry's record of multiple seasons with 20 goals, 10 assists. Like, do you understand how wild that is? He is overtaking Henry's record. Thierry Henry, the greatest Premier League player of all time. But then when we get to, you know, like at the end of his career, he sat there with like one singular Premier League medal. We cannot be on a singular Premier League medal. And I'm so sick and tired of my fan base just making excuses. All this, we're going to rebuild, all these fucking buzzwords that they keep using. Ain't no build, ain't no rebuild. We've got the spine. Go sign the 3-4 right players, go win that league title. All this rebuild, all these buzzwords, just get on my nerves. Because what are you talking about? Honestly, what are we talking about here?
I agree with
Trent, Van Dijk. Players have been on podiums. Players have been in World 11s. Players have won Premier League Players of the Season. I have the spine to win it. Go sign me the 3 right players and deliver the Premier League. All this Europa crap, it won't matter. No one's going to look at Klopp's 10 years from now and go like, oh, we won the Europa League. Oh, let's all dance about it. No one gives a fuck. Premier League, we do give a fuck. So let's go win that.
I look at it this way, what you said there about rebuilds. When it comes to Liverpool, when it comes to City, when it comes to Arsenal right now, none of those teams are in a rebuild. Or you can use words like process and phase if you want, but all teams are in a process and a phase because nearly every club, win, lose or draw. Go look at some of the greatest achievements Man United, Liverpool in the past, City, Madrid, Barca, Bayern. Goes to the following summer. Typically 4-5-6 leave, 4-5-6 players come in, typically, right? So they're always improving and changing their squad. So if you want to call that a process, everybody's always in that process because football's revolutionary. It's not linear. It's continually evolving. But this rebuilds are for teams that are in the mud and have been in the mud for a period of time. So Chelsea's situation, I believe, with changing of ownership, not challenging for a title in 6 years. The fact they've bloated their squad, they're in a process of building something, and it's a mess right now, but they've got to try and fix that. Man United, a decade without challenging, got to our lowest point in 40 years at the end of Ollie's reign, where we know that the majority of that squad needs clearing out. 7 or 8 of them went last summer, and actually a story's come out today that Donny, Martial, Maguire, McTominay, Tellez, Bailly, all going to go this year. Who's sorry?
Who's Donny?
Donny van der Beek.
Oh, I forgot he
was there.
Yeah, even played for...
all these guys are going to go. But when you name a lot of those guys were first team players this year and last year. We're in a rebuild. But again, I would say by the end of next season, you've got to start looking beyond the word rebuild and what are you actually achieving. Now, we could achieve 2 trophies this year at the start of it. So you can still win in rebuilds. And when you're Liverpool, City, Arsenal, Man United, That is what you've got to aspire to do and be. And I agree with you. You've had one bad year.
No,
By right this summer, you should be back in the title race.
not just one bad year.
What do you mean?
This is why I'm focusing on the Prem. The centre back crisis
you
season.
were bad last season, though. You were very good last season,
I'm
right?
not going to say bad. We failed, but we failed beautifully. Fair enough. And I'm going to say that when we get to the Arsenal part. This season made me look at last season probably with more of a positive light. 2 years, I'm going to say, is failure. The centre back crisis, this one. This is why we can't be sat here, Terry, 6 years into this tenure with one league. We can't. We really can't. This is why all this process.
I'll let
you finish and then
because you've called things out. So if you look at City, they replaced Fernandinho a year or so before he left, as an example. They don't always do it because they didn't have a ready-made replacement for Aguero. It took them a couple of seasons to do that, but they had options as an example. They brought in Jack Grealish last year before they moved on Raheem Sterling as an example. And there's probably other cases City fans are more familiar with than me. This is your issue, is your manager has just been a little bit too sentimental, coupled with your club not always allowing him to spend the way in which he wants. You add those two things together and you create problems. And this happened to Fergie at the end of his reign because there's no way he would have kept players like Rio and Vidic. As long as he did, he would never have called Paul Scholes back the way he had to if the club was releasing money at those times. It just so happens, though, 2 years, 3 years later, the new TV deal money comes in and the Glazers sanction spending because clubs suddenly started having an extra £100 million in their bank account each year because of the Premier League's TV deal. It had nothing to do with their own commercial successes. And I think that's where you guys, the problem is if you don't get it right this summer, then you start going down the road of you actually do need a rebuild because every year there'll be another player that may be too old or there's a problem with. And then you suddenly go from having one or two holes to have looks like you've been attacked by termites. And then it's a 2 or 3 summer job because you can't sign 15, 16, 17 players in one summer and expect it to click. So you have to do it bit by bit. I don't know if you've ever been to, a friend of mine was very, very wealthy and his mum and dad owned this massive house in Essex. And I don't remember being there where there wasn't some kind of renovation work going on. And I remember saying to his dad, why have you always got builders in? He said, when you own a house this big, there's always something breaking that needs fixing. Something breaks or something needs redoing or a wall needs... He says, like, it's a constant thing. You have to keep fixing it. So that's like a football team. You have to... The maintenance is really high and you have to keep that flowing and moving forward. So you're not in a rebuild. It just needs continual maintenance to stay at the top. A rebuild is when it's disheveled and he's knocking down and rebuilding and you're not in that state. But you will be if you don't act this summer. And I think a lot of...
And this is why I'm upset. Exactly what you... I agree, Man United are in rebuild. Guys, we can banter, but we have to sometimes just cut the crap, say it as it is. Man United are in a rebuild because they even got a new manager, everything. They didn't have a spine either. You didn't have a spine. If I ask Terry right now, as constructed currently, before even the transfer window opens, with everyone fit, if we bring a Barcelona fan here, someone who's just like very neutral, hates everyone equally, other than Manchester City, 90% of the people would rather have Liverpool starting 11. Like, it's the starting 11, I'm saying, not squad. The starting 11, you look at the likes of Trent, Van Dijk, Alisson, Robertson, even Konate, Fabinho, Thiago, Salah, Diaz. You're like, bro, this is a team. Mm-hmm. This is a team. Like, this isn't, like, with all due respect, I'm not like buying land and trying to build a house and trying to go all over again. All this rebuild shit is just BS. Plus, we've got Klopp. World-class manager, elite manager, who's been there, done that, won the UCL, won the Premier League, won it all. So it's not like I've got an intern as manager. It's not like I've got Pochettino that there's questions on. It's not like I've got Arteta, maybe who still needs to learn on the job. I've got Jurgen Klopp, and I've got certified world-class players. So my problem is, we go into next season and people going like, oh, but we finished outside the top 4. So the goal would be get back into top 4. Let me tell you why they're full of shit. We're 3 points behind top 4 right now. So you're telling me I'm supposed to go have this unbelievable summer, sign 4 players, just to be 3 points better off next season? Just to like, I bridge the gap to top 4. I believe
your expectations to challenge next year, and every Liverpool fan should have that expectation and that standard. And well, yeah, it is to win, and then contextually you judge the season based on how close you were. Like if you get 98 points and they beat you to 99, you wouldn't be like, right, Klopp's got to go, right? Because there's no one better there isn't a better manager in the world that's going to be able to surpass Klopp and Pep at the same time. So you have to contextualize everything. But you want to achieve your standards as a football club, where you are. And as a Man United fan, I get called out all the time. And people say, Terry, this season you can't say you've overachieved. The expectations change. And I was deep in it last night. I was thinking about it. And I'm like, no, both things are true at the same time. Why would your expectations ever change? I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why we do. Why would you ever change your expectations within a season? What would make you change your expectations?
Okay, there's two things that would make you change your expectations. Number two, other teams being crap. Number one, sorry, other teams being crap. Number two, you perform at a higher level than you expected. Two things could be true.
That's it. So if we are performing at a higher level than we've expected, I agree that you change your expectations, but that's only because you've exceeded the original expectations. So when I turn around as a United fan and go, we've exceeded expectations this year, but if we've missed out on the top four, I'll still be disappointed. Those two things are true at the same time. The expectations have only changed because we've already exceeded what everybody expected us to. And I think that that's okay, though, when you're, as you say, at the start of a rebuild, when you're on your way. I think like Newcastle right now, because they're 18 months into this project that they're building, there is room for error and for failure, even when you've adjusted your expectations because they're ahead of schedule.
Newcastle overachieved. That's the best example of overachieved.
Massively. Even if they would have lost to Leicester in that, I mean, they nearly lost to Leicester with that last kick of the game, and then they go away to Chelsea on the final day and lose, and you pip them, they would still have had a really good season. But the longer they're rebuilding and the more money they spend, then you get down to the sort of realm of, well, you suddenly don't have that excuse anymore. And I can tell people this now. By the end of next season, especially if we continue to grow, my expectations will be right near the standard. And my standards have never changed. I need Man United to get back to challenging for a title. But I've just not been shown an example of a club our size that's failed for 10 years, that has the worst season in 40 years in its club's history. The following year went back to winning a league title in a highly competitive league that has a team, by the way, has two teams in it, with the number one and number two best managers in the world, and a team that's currently being lauded as the greatest in English football history. So if you can give me an example where a team's gone from not challenging for 10 years to winning the league title from in that position, barring Leicester. Leicester are the only example. But even
that's the anomaly. You can't use it.
Well, this is it. Human beings. I was actually watching a TV show earlier today, and there's a psychologist on there that said the problem is with a lot of people in this world, we very rarely think about the norm. We spend too much time trying to find the anomalies and use them as examples rather than looking at what normally happens. And that's where you should base the majority of your logic, the majority of your predictions, the majority of your thoughts should be based on the normality and what typically happens, not the obscurity and the one time in 135 years that it's happened. That isn't normality. So, yeah, I kind of look at it that way. And look, I think expectations are a really important thing. And I get why you've got them for Liverpool. And I think a lot of Liverpool fans owe you an apology. I know you got a lot of crap last summer for calling things out. And they were like, you're this, you're that, you're a clickbait.
Negative for views. That was my favorite one.
Attention and everything that happened, turned around and it ended up being.
I should have been more negative. I swear to God, I really should have been more negative.
Speaking of negativity,
yes.
and we'll probably get back onto Liverpool a little bit later in the show when we start talking about Arsenal. Still Arsenal to come, people. Still going to be talking England. Still going to talk about Man City, the title, and there's some Gundogan news that's broke as well that he's close to agreeing a deal with Barcelona. I do believe, which I think a lot of people were expecting, but we'll come on to that soon. But we mentioned Newcastle, so I wanted to bring them up really because outrage has been sparked today. And I saw my TL, I saw people, there was a quote tweet I see going crazy from a journalist called Mark Kelman, who says Newcastle United are in advanced, I'll make sure I read this correctly, are in advanced talks in a multi-million pound shirt sponsorship with a company called, and I want to make sure I get their name correct when I say this.
Let me put it up.
Seller.
I can help you with the name.
Yeah. Actually, I can put it up on the. I'll say what I'm going to put up. Seller Sports, a Saudi-based events company, an alliance that would provide a litmus test for the new Premier League rules. Now, him stating that it's a litmus test for the new Premier League rules. Turns out, by the way, one of the board members of Newcastle is also on the board of this company. And the reason it sparked outrage, and I'll show the picture, is because this company's offering £30 million per year, I believe, but they currently don't have a website. So people are a little bit miffed of a company that can afford I think it's a 5-year deal, so a £150 million deal, but currently they don't have a website. No one really knows who they are. Their name isn't known. They're sharing board members. What is your take? We know that City are currently being investigated for very similar activities. Some people think this is jealousy from Premier League rivals. Others feel that it is absolutely right to challenge because there's a belief that they're not real companies. They're just being propped up by the Saudi owners of Man City as a way of generating bigger incomes to circumvent FFP. What's your personal take on this, mate?
If this goes through, then FFP means absolutely nothing. Then we've all been bamboozled. This is just BS, this whole FFP thing. We should all go out there, spend 600 million, break every single rule because it's just full BS. You know, they're just basically, essentially, they're doing the City. And I don't know why City fans, you know, maybe a few City fans in the comment section piping up. You're the originator of this shit. So you're the one that need, you know, there is no website. They went to one of the City sponsors. They found a mailbox. Last I knew, mailboxes don't print money. So, you know, it's just people aren't even aware of how things work in the region. And they still want to talk about stuff and act like they think like it really is a company sponsoring them. In the Gulf, there is no such thing as private companies. Everything's owned by the government. Everything goes back to the government itself.
So when it comes, and where are you? Just to remind everybody where you're from and your understanding of this, please.
I'm Jordanian.
Okay.
So everything is owned by the government. So the private sector isn't really private sector because it's more owned by the government than everything else. And when it comes to this whole thing, imagine the football terrace, right, is Newcastle United. Let's just we can make this easy to give as an example. Imagine the Top 6 show sponsors the football terrace. Imagine Straight Facts sponsors the football terrace. Imagine the Done Deal show sponsors the football terrace. This is exactly what is happening right here, right now. It all goes back to Terry anyway. So what are we doing here? Like the same guy is getting sponsored by himself. So all they had to do is, you know, they can just wake up tomorrow. By the way, they've now increased their sponsorship to 60 million a year, 70 million a year, 80 million a year. All hell break loose then. And here's the thing. You want to punish City, you have to also stop the teams that are trying to do it now. I'm not against Newcastle spending money. I'm not. Good luck to them, all of that good stuff. You know, more competition in the Prem is better for the Premier League, all of that, beautiful. But also, I want clubs to do it the right way. This is why there is absolutely zero respect for Manchester City right now. No one gives a fuck. The reason why no one gives a fuck, it's not organic. It's not real growth. It's just fake. Everything about that club is fake. Even their celebration is from Lech Poznan. And people come here and say, oh, Newcastle, oh, you're jealous. I'm not jealous. I just want it to be done the right way. So let's have real sponsors, give you real money. You've just made the Champions League, so that means extra money. Start signing players smartly, invest, develop, and then get to that stage. But don't come tell me that you're already getting sponsors at this moment in time just because you made top 4 once, and now you're starting to make money and all this wild stuff. Bro, this is the Man City stuff. Now all eyes are on the Premier League. All eyes are on them because you want to charge Manchester City. You want to charge them. So if another club is trying to do the same exact thing that Man City are trying to do, then you have to stop Newcastle from doing that same exact thing. Because if that's the case, let's take this to the umpteenth degree. Qatar by Man United, sponsor Qatar Airways, visit Qatar, Doha, etc., etc., etc. Now what? Now Man United could spend $1 billion every summer and no one would care. They could buy a whole 23-man squad and no one could say anything. So if you want to stop this, you have to stop this now, because FFP means nothing. It means absolutely nothing if stuff like this starts going through, because all they're showing is, listen, we have the blueprint from City and we're just going to do it back. And if they do it back and they do allow it back, then this whole thing is pointless. FFP is pointless. Spend money, fair competition, blah 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 blah. So all that just means absolutely nothing. So now let's all just break FFP rules, spend as much as we want, and to hell with FFP if that's the case. I'm just gonna be completely honest with you.
I get where you're coming from. Look, I did a bit of research because I wanted to be fair. So Sela, I think it's pronounced. How would you pronounce the word? Sela?
Sela, you pronounced it
Sela.
correct.
You said
Sela,
Sela.
yeah.
Sela. Look, they do have, according to LinkedIn, 1,133 employees, and they have existed since 1995. So that information is out there on LinkedIn to be seen. So they're a company that is getting towards 30 years old. They employ over 1,100 people. It does appear they're a genuine company. I think where people are going to have a problem is going to be in the space of, well, one of their board members is also a board member at Newcastle. And what I would say is this: if clubs really have a worry and a concern about breaking the rules, then football's got to become regulated. So when I worked in banking, if you wanted to bank with me in the private bank, you had to go through due diligence, and some people from some regions of the world had to go through advanced due diligence. So sometimes it was weird stuff. So you would say to someone, "How did you make your money?" And it would be, "Well, it was inherited by my father." What did your father do? Where did the money? We'd ask for documentation. Where did the money come from? Or he got it from the sale of this business. Can we see documentation on that? Because at any point, the regulators of banks could ask to see that information. Some clients went, "We're not giving you that. It's private information." We'd say, "Fine, then we're not opening the bank accounts." And maybe that's where football's got to go, is the case of, well, if this company's going to offer you, whatever a company's going to offer you in sponsorship, they've got to be able to prove to you that they have the income through clients over a period of 3 or 4 years prior to sponsoring you to cover this, as an example. That's the only way you're going to ever defend this, because if you can't ever delve into the bank accounts and the trading accounts of all these companies abroad, you're never going to know their true turnover, what they do, how much money they earn, or anything along those lines. I will say this: there is a lot of jealousy towards Newcastle getting money, the same as when Man United, if Man United get the Qataris, there'll be jealousy towards them. The reason I'm not going to come out and condemn this is, firstly, this seems like a much more legitimate business than a lot of the ones that City have been accused of. Some of them don't.
City mailbox.
Yeah, some of City don't even have LinkedIn pages or websites. They don't even have addresses. They don't have any employees. I really, that's almost, how can you give £10 million a year from a company that doesn't even have any turnover? That's weird to me, right? This seems a little bit different, and I'm going to defend Newcastle here. 1,100 employees, a 30-year-old business. Maybe this is what they're able to do. And there are going to be companies, and loads of companies when I was in Qatar that I'd never heard of. They have there's a thing out there where you can get anything delivered. So it's almost, we don't really have this in England too well. It's like Just Eat for food. But if you need a toilet brush, or if you need a paintbrush, a toothbrush, or a comb, you go on there and do it. Now, this company is everywhere, and it's worth billions. It's this thing that everybody all day, every day in Qatar uses it. Now, if they were to sponsor Man United, no one in England would know who they are. But because I've been to Qatar, I've seen them. I actually can't remember what they're called. I might even not have their app on my phone anymore, but I want to remember now. Now that I'm out here saying it, I want to remember what they're called.
But what if they're the same board member? That's the problem. You already said the problem. By definition, you can't sponsor yourself. That's the issue, Terry. How are you sponsoring yourself? Because then you can put as many numbers as you want. What's stopping them from the next contract being double what they just gave now?
I understand.
That's the problem.
And I think that's a fair challenge. And that's why I think the journalist has written down what it is that he said. And I'm trying to find the name of this damn. Oh, it's called I can never pronounce it. Snunu. SNOONU. Snunu. Yeah, that's what it's called. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. And that's where there needs to be an element here of, well, how long have you been on the board? Are you a key decision maker at that organization? Have you pushed this through? Can they afford it? That's how you protect. At the same time, it's a real interesting one to see how this is going to kind of pan out and the direction it's going to go in. I do also think a lot of outrage comes from jealousy. And I will say this as well. No one seems to have that kind of outrage when clubs get sponsored by American sponsors or British sponsors, European sponsors. Like, we never even bother to look into the connections. And I can guarantee you, a lot of Man United sponsors, I bet if you start delving into it, the Glazers are, family friends with the owners of those sponsors, or sit on
that should be stopped too, then.
Members. And that's what I mean. For me, if you're going to investigate this, I think you've got to start looking at all of it and go, okay, well, Arsenal have just got a new sponsor. It's an American tech company. Let's check for any connections between KSE's businesses and their businesses. And like, I don't see anyone investigating that. And I feel like we only really spend time in our media investigating Russian and Middle East money, especially Middle East money. Like, that seems to get a lot more attention. And I'm personally a little uncomfortable with that, if that makes sense. But
I agree with you. My biggest problem, which you as well agreed with, is it's just the same guy on the board of said company. That's the issue for me. So if the Cronkies, if Stan Kroenke is the is a board member of, I don't know, whatever, like Nestle, and Nestle want to sponsor Arsenal, then that's wrong. Regardless, whether it's Nestle, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, anything, like the idea is wrong. That's the thing. So
yeah, well,
the
I mean,
idea of you
Newcastle was
sponsoring yourself is the issue.
But Newcastle was sponsored by Sports Direct. And
That's
Mike
also
Ashley,
wrong.
Mike, yeah, and I think, yeah. So I don't know if that's a complete. That's what I mean. I don't think it's against the rules to be sponsored by yourself. I think what's against the rules is this, like, what would be against the rules? Say they're getting 30 million here. What's against the rules would be for the principal owner of Newcastle to pump the money into Salah, and then for that money then to be given to City as sponsorship money. That's essentially what City have done wrong. I think your own companies can sponsor you. You just can't filter in your own personal money to be sent off. That is where the problem lies.
It's 30 million, right?
Yes, that's what I read online. Yeah,
3-0, right? So if it was 60 million, would you have the same reaction?
Yeah, for me, it's like, I get why they're challenging it, but it doesn't look like a legitimate business, and there's no proof yet that this company doesn't have the turnover to accommodate it. Does that make sense?
So when it becomes 90 million after that, then what?
Well, maybe we've got to look at it, but maybe through being sponsored by a Premier League team that's in the Champions League, they start to get more and more events. They start to grow as a business. That's why you would sponsor, right? Sponsors sponsor Premier League teams to grow their business. That's literally the point of it. So I think you've got to look at it. But if this company seller had 3 employees and were founded a year ago, and they could afford to sponsor, and I know that, look, it might be a billionaire that's backing the company, so he's pumping money into it. If they were a new company with no employees sponsoring a Premier League club £30 million a year, I'd be suspicious of that. But they are a 30-year-old business, you know. But you said something earlier I wanted to pull on. You said earlier that Man City are fake. What do you mean by that?
What do you mean? What do I mean? It's crystal clear. Man City is not a real club. No one respects this shit. Why have we spent the last 2 weeks talking about Arsenal? Who's sat here talking about City? That's the thing. Like, this is why it just all feels manufactured. Because this could have been Portsmouth. This could have been any other club that got money. It's the truth. They won the lottery, and whether people like to admit it or not, it is the absolute truth. You know, just go look at, all you have to see is just go look at City pre-money, post-money. It's nothing but facts. And you know, the way that they have built it and all of that. Like, we're talking about a team that 20 years ago was in, like, League One. Like, we're talking about a team that was like, so you could literally like go and pull up Coventry, Sunderland, one of them guys, and it's the same stuff. So now it's actually Sunderland's bigger, okay. So you can't, like, just be that small of a club and people care about you. I think here's the thing though. I think you will see in the upcoming years though more and more hatred towards Manchester City as they get successful. And I think when that hate develops, people will start going like, man, we should have hated on this earlier. So you look at this like, people, if there's a Chelsea City league title race next season, I'd want Chelsea to win. I don't want anyone to beat City next season, not called Manchester United, because they're my biggest rivals, so you'd understand that. But other than that, I'd want everyone to beat City because they're just winning too much. And at the rate that they're winning, if they continue into this rate, within the next 10 years, they're equalizing our league titles, your league titles. If they win a couple of Champions Leagues, 3 Champions Leagues, 4 Champions Leagues, then the conversations start to get, a little bit crazy. So for me, I just don't take, I hate City because City, is not organically made. It's all sketchy. But I think hatred towards them is more at the capacity and the rate at which they're winning stuff. And then they deserve, and listen, There's a reason why last season the conversation was on Liverpool. The season before that, it was on this team, on that team. This season, everyone's talking about Arsenal. No one sat here, talking about City like that. And by the way, like, how I know it's inorganic is I know personally about 10 City fans who all used to support different clubs before that. Former Arsenal City fan, former Chelsea City fan.
Where you're from or online?
No, online.
Who?
And they openly
name
admit
names. Name names.
no,
Name
not gonna
names.
do that.
Sam.
No, not
What,
gonna
you
do
mean
that.
like
But
Hamza?
they openly admit it.
You mean
I'm
Hamza?
former Arsenal. They say it.
Hamza.
No, Hamza is not former Arsenal.
Hamza
It's people
admitted.
you don't know. It's people you don't know.
I do. The only thing I find suspicious, it's not about Man City, the club. Anyone I see that's like from the UK or that's like not from Manchester and is like 35 plus, and they go, "Yeah, I picked City when I was a kid." I'm like, "You're a liar. You're a liar. You're a liar. You're just a liar. That didn't happen at all." We have some super chats here. First one says, "The challenge is teams don't typically jump to 30 million spurt shot sponsors so quickly off the back of one good season." The market value thing is very, very key. But again, is there a guideline to what market value looks like? This here says it's not against the rules if the director in question discloses the interest before the discussion was made by the entire board. That's fair enough. Thank you very much for that information, bro. This is from Debbie that says, Husam, would you take Mane back if given the opportunity? How would you describe Barca's transfer window?
I would rather stab myself than take Sadio Mane. I'm just done. I'm not taking Mane back. I'm not taking Coutinho back. I'm not taking anyone back. Fuck taking people back. Can we start looking at the future now? Sadio Mane, what's he done in the Bundesliga? Don't make me shit on my former legend now. Thank you for everything, Sadio. I love you. I give you virtual hug. But I ain't gonna sit up here and shit on Sadio Mane. But I don't want anyone back. Anyone who's left us, I do not want back. Full stop. I want new players, fresh blood. That's what I want. So simple as that. And said Sadio Mane. Come on, man. Mo Salah would be on 70 goals in that shit league. What are we doing?
Oh my word. Craig here says, yet Terry says nothing about the fake Sheikh Foundation. Mate, I haven't even condemned what Newcastle have done, my friend. It's just a talking point because it's trending, brother. So there we go. I didn't condemn anything. This says I want to win the Europa challenge for the league, and I also want the FA Cup and Carabao Cup. Also, I want us to get our transfers done early. And Terry, any news on Lavia and Timber to Liverpool? I
answer the first part before
you do the first part? Yeah, go on.
Okay, I'll tell you the first part. I want us also to win the Europa and the League and the FA Cup and the Carabao, like you said. But I'm giving you a non-utopia level answer. I'm giving you a real world answer. The real world answer is we can win the English Premier League if we make it our priority and fully 100% take it seriously. So why should I risk it in other irrelevant competitions? Simple.
And on Lavia, yes, there's news that Liverpool are really interested in him, but nothing advanced at the moment as far as we've read. And Timber, I haven't really seen too much on Timber to Liverpool at all, really. But we will. I'll keep my ears out for that news. Thank you, Honesty. I really appreciate the super chat, my friend. I do this sometimes. I unstarred the wrong super chat, so I've got to go back and find it now. It annoys me when I do that because that'll be from ages ago now as well. And I've got to scroll right the way back up. That was soppy of me. I know it's a long process to go all the way back through. I should nearly be near it now. It was a yellow one, so it's easier to spot. It wasn't. That was the one I've already got. So I'm nearly there now. Let me find this because I want to be respectful to these viewers. While we're waiting, people, make sure you've hit the like button if you haven't done so already. Get that done right about. Where has it gone? Where's this at? Thought I was nearly there and still strolling back. Fine.
I can't believe people still asking the money question. I'm sorry with you.
Terry, I fully deeped it. You're a master of wind up because you've realized the right buttons to press for Lee Gunner's head to absolutely go for him to say mad stuff. He was on one. It's not even. I know he was on one, but it's not even really like that. I do it with everybody. Always have done it. When people say something, I'm not really that interested in what they say. I'm more intrigued by their logic, and when you deep their logic out. So Lee does this with sacking man. You got to sack a manager, don't win the league or Champions League. By that logic, every manager managing a Champions League team, unless he wins, faces the sack every year because only one team wins the Champions League. That means 19 managers a season in every top league in Europe, unless they win the Champions League or their league, get sacked. And if you keep doing that every single year, no team would ever have continuity. So it works when you're talking about his situation with Arsenal right now, potentially, but you can't apply that logic against all teams. And I like to dig at the logic rather than the actual claim that's being made personally. This here says, Husam, stop the crap. Talk because Liverpool is the least attractive club out of the top 6 clubs in England. Do you agree?
This is just BS. Your name is speaking facts, but you're speaking crap in this chat right here because, we're definitely more attractive than Tottenham, definitely more attractive than Arsenal, definitely more attractive than Chelsea. Us and United, there's a conversation. City, I think, are the most attractive. That's my honest opinion. But, the other clubs were by far more attractive than them. If I bring Declan Rice right now, one of the prospects in England, and I tell him you can, even in current state in Europa League, if I give West Ham the same money, I take him over Arsenal. Please understand that. Jurgen Klopp, the opportunity to play with the likes of Salah, Alisson, blah, 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 won the Premier League, won the Champions League. He ain't trying to go Arsenal, so this is just BS.
There we go. Tahir says, I don't hate City. They have ambition and standards. They want to succeed. Where are other Premier League teams? Where are their standards and ambitions? It's jealousy to not like Man. You're jealous of City, is what he's saying, bro.
I'm not jealous of City. I just wanted them to do it organically. I just wanted them to do it for real, not the way that they are. Bro, even their celebration is taken from Lech Poznan. What are we doing here? Why we have to there is nothing real about that club, bro. It's just all made up.
You do know that Man United used to play "You'll Never Walk Alone" before Liverpool, right?
And you do know Celtic used to play it before us both. So where do we go from here?
Oh, no, I know. But it's that things are passed on, aren't they? Do you know what I mean?
That's the difference between song and money. That's the massive difference.
City feels plastic, but Pep always dominates the leagues he is in. Did you hear his comments today where he said about they want the trial quickly because he's confident they'll win and he'll be here when they do? I don't. For me, I'm so. How do you think the investigation into City is gonna go?
Thing is it's the amount of charges because it's 110, 115 charges, so it's a lot of charges. So they're probably gonna get done for something. Like it's not like they're just not gonna get done at all. Like at least you'd hope 10 or 15 of those charges come through. Then conversations happen, but. City fans are confident because they've been in this situation before, but City do need to get punished. There is no doubt about that whatsoever. Punishments need to happen to Manchester City, whether people like it or not. It's the God honest truth, and it's just nothing about it is organic, nothing's real. Pep always dominates the leagues he's in 100%. You know why Pep dominates the leagues that he's in? Because he's driving a Ferrari against Hondas. So of course he's going to dominate the league. Congratulations, he won 3 Bundesligas with Bayern. Ooh, Kovac won the Bundesliga with Bayern. Other random managers I can name you, none of you even know. Wagner, the guy that wears the glasses that used to manage Fulham, he even won it with Bayern Munich. Let's not act like it's some sort of special shit to win. Like the Premier League, fair enough. The years he competed with Liverpool, all of that, but he's always had the strongest starting 11, the strongest squad, the most spent money. So of course he's gonna win. It is what it is.
There we go. Ineos sponsor Nice, so potentially Man United would get the same. Yes, they would. And again, that's completely above board as long as there's declarations prior, and as long as Sir Jim is not pumping his own personal money into the company for it to be directly siphoned into Man United. There is no problems with that. This here says Sebastian Haller battled cancer for 6 months and has more goals than Mane.
Big up Haller, by the way. Great story. I hope Dortmund win the league.
Absolutely. As a Newcastle fan, I'll accept our new owners, but if they are cheating like City, then they should be punished. Liverpool's challenge next season, Mane, is what Philip says. And that's
Felipe is a Bayern fan as well, by the way. That's why he's saying that. He's been on that.
Okay, I get it. Yeah, do you know what I'd say is as well? I think most City fans as well, they won't say it online. If they get found guilty, I actually feel sorry for most City fans because they haven't cheated. Imagine if they get found guilty, City, everything they've achieved in the past decade becomes even if it doesn't get voided by the FA and UEFA,
it should get voided.
But it will all void it, and that's the thing. Man United winning, yes, it's to have all the trophies in your cabinet, it's to have it all listed down on paper. But if no one recognizes it as being real, what does it matter?
Cares.
No one cares anymore. And it's the same with when I remember when Gatlin won the world championships in the last race. I think that the Usain Bolt raced in. He got booed by the crowd. No one hyped him up because you're a drugs cheat. No one cares if you win now. It doesn't have the same gravitas. So yeah, I do feel for City fans if they're found guilty because they'll lose everything.
Would you call Gerrard the Premier League winner if they're found guilty?
Yes, I would.
Yes.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I would. Teams and fans happy to get top 4 are basically handing City the title. Teams need to go after them. Liverpool did it and won. I hear what you're saying. Their clubs definitely need to be more ambitious and spend more and continue projects. Absolutely, that's fair. This is tuned into the video late. I understand that we bottled it. My issue is Liverpool go on about handling pressure. They won it in empty stadiums. Well done. It's like that pressure was there.
Oh, Edward. No, leave it up, Terry. Don't even remove it. Edward, I'm about to dunk on your head top right here, right now. The team that won the COVID Premier League was actually Manchester City in 2020, 2021, because the stadiums really were empty. Liverpool Football Club in 1920 won the Premier League before a ball was kicked in COVID. Even if we didn't kick a single football in COVID, we just sat and watched at home, we would have been Premier League winners. Also, what pressure? We went into the COVID break like 20 points ahead. You do realize we won 26 of 27 that season. Also, Edward, I wanted Arsenal to win the league. I wanted you guys to win the league. But don't come up here and act like me and you are the same. Don't act like Saka is Salah. Don't act like Saliba's Van Dijk. Don't act like Ramsdale's Alisson. Just do not act it. Because if I was in your position, Edward, you know for a fact you'd be sending in a super chat saying, congratulations, Premier League winner Husam 2022, 2023. That's the difference between me and you. So please, let us both know our roles. Continue building by you, not me yet.
Thank you, Eduardo, for the super chat, my guy. Pep also said if City lied to him, he would walk away. No, exactly. No, I agree with that. And they're telling him one thing and he hopes it's true. Of course he does. Thank you for this super chat. There was no comments, but thank you for the donation. On City, though, 2 big stories coming out today. First one is that Barca has the signing of Gundogan advanced. Plus, there's talk about PSG going in massive for Bernardo Silva. Do you, if they lose both those players, which, by the way, 2 summers running, Silva nearly left, and last summer, it's been talked about all year, and last summer, Gundogan could go. If City lose those 2 players, do you see them replacing them with equal quality this summer, or do you think there'll be a slight drop-off?
I take it a step back and say they just won't allow both to leave. I think one of them is staying. Like Gundogan, Bernardo Silva, one of them is staying 100%. I don't see both leaving. And this is why I predict a City drop-off for next season. This goes back to the whole Liverpool have to win the league thing. Like, every single team after a back-to-back, even Pep spoke on it. He said he's been involved in teams like this. He says the 4th year, it's very difficult to convince you after eating caviar for 3 years that caviar is still special. So the thing is, like, you look at the likes of Bernardo, you look at the likes of Gundogan. I think Bernardo to PSG or Barcelona makes sense. I think Gundogan to PSG or Barcelona, both, like whoever, which one of them goes wherever, is all good. But I think you bring in new players into that game, into that team, qualities of Gundogan, don't have the experience of Bernardo Silva, don't have, the sort of stuff that they've been doing with City. The positive element of it is they haven't had caviar yet, so they want caviar, so they show that hunger. The negative element of it is also they haven't had caviar yet, so they don't know how to go hunt caviar. So that's the thing. So it's kind of a fine balance, which is why I think they're probably going to keep one of them. I think Gundogan, Bernardo Silva, it's almost like Terry just said it. It's almost like every single summer he wants to leave. Like, this ain't new. Like, it's like every summer we go into, oh, Bernardo wants to leave, and then he just ends up staying somehow. So I think one of them will leave, not both. But Gundogan, for me, has been absolutely brilliant this season. Absolutely brilliant this season, Gundogan. One of the best super subs, second options maybe in Premier League history. So we have to give him kudos for that.
I've seen a lot of people in this last week talk about Gundogan surpassing Gerrard's legacy. That he's been an even better midfielder in the Premier League than Gerrard.
That's just idiotic.
Why is it idiotic?
Because if Steven Gerrard played for Manchester City, they'd be sat here on 3 Champions Leagues. They'd won every league title, because he's clear of their best ever midfielder. So I don't think Gundogan's a conversation, I'll be honest with you. That's just not a conversation. That's like comparing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to Thierry Henry. Like, let's be real here.
Really? That's an interesting one.
Gundogan and Gerrard is not a convo. It really isn't. KDB, Gerrard, I hear. We can have that conversation. Gerrard still wins, but we can have it. Gundogan, I'm not. You cannot have a Gundogan Gerrard conversation. What are we doing here? And by the way, that was started by Professor Hamza solely as well. The best. I heard him on the terrace. He started that whole convo, and I got onto him.
And a lot of people tweeting about it. Interesting one. KDB definitely better than him and surpassed him in every attribute, barring the Champions League. But when they win it, when they beat Inter Milan, that's it. There is no. By the way, when KDB wins that Champions League, there is nothing Gerrard has ever done that KDB hasn't surpassed.
Gerrard's better than KDB.
He's not though.
It's just
on ability, on ability, on output, longevity, and trophies. He beats him on everything.
Out of context. That's brilliant.
That's not out of context. It's the reality of it.
No, it's not reality. It's out of context. Switch places. Switch places.
Well, that's out of context. Gerrard was part of brilliant Liverpool teams.
Name them.
That failed because in the end their players weren't good enough. But they were highly tipped. They were brilliant team. They just weren't good enough to become great.
Which Liverpool side? Tell me.
Well, the team that
there's only one in his whole career, for being real.
He was in 2 or 3 teams that played brilliant football, brilliant teams. They just weren't great. They just weren't great as in achieved greatness, and that was due to the players that were there. However,
not due to him.
Also, hang on, but Gerrard also made the decision to stay at Liverpool. Now, if a footballer is brilliant at 25,
did he make that decision, Terry?
Hang on.
You know what happened in that summer? You know what happened.
Hang on a minute. So if a player's brilliant at 25 and then decides to start eating and drinking, taking drugs, and he ruins his career, is that his fault or not?
Yeah, that's his fault.
That's his fault. He made a bad decision. If Liverpool, if Gerrard decided to stay at Liverpool because he believed they were going to go on to win the big trophies and it's wrong, he's still accountable for his bad decision. He made the career choice to not join Chelsea, the superior club at the time, where he would have won the major trophies and had the ability to prove that he could cope with the pressure of title races
and
every
he got
year
threatened
and deliver. Him getting threatened by Liverpool fans didn't keep him at Liverpool. He believed in the club and he made a conscious decision by himself as a man, and he got that decision wrong. And you are judged on your decision making as much as anything else.
Romelu Lukaku has surpassed Francesco Totti. Because Romelu Lukaku has more league titles and more trophies than Totti. This is the thing. Look, there's players in history that has happened throughout history that are just loyal to their club. I'm not going to punish them for being loyal.
The difference is that Totti was a better football player than Lukaku. I don't think it's clear cut that Gerrard was a better technical football player than KDB, because KDB has outperformed him in terms of goals, in terms of assists, the amount of big games that he's had. So at the end, but he was doing it at Wolfsburg.
Name a manager that he had like Pep. No one.
What do you mean?
Name teammates that if we were to sit here realistically,
hang on a minute. I can name you teammates. Your Gerrard played in midfield with Mascherano and Alonso and had Fernando Torres ahead of him.
See how I'm going to tell you. See how now I'm so happy you said that.
This guy played with quality, you know. For me, and as I say, but
can you tell people the truth? No, but how can you? How are you just bypassing that?
Hang on. Let's not go.
No, but you're bypassing a non-fact.
I'm not bypassing anything. We're moving on from what I said. I don't think it's clear cut that Gerrard was an out and out technically better football player than KDB.
Okay.
Forget trophies for a minute. Even
okay, I'm going to tell you.
Why is he better? Tell me why he's better. I'd love to know.
Gerrard is attribute for attribute better than any Premier League midfielder in history. Number one, KDB included. Number two,
why? No, deep that. Don't move on.
Okay, I'm gonna answer. Don't worry. Second thing is, you mentioned because you're not gonna let me forget this. The Xabi Alonso Mascherano one in 08-09. I'm so happy you mentioned that. Do you know that midfield played together 3 times or 4 times that whole season?
But they were all in the squad though. It's a squad. Like
but they played together 4 times only.
But it's a squad. That's not my fault they weren't picked.
Okay, but now you're unpacking it.
Hang on a minute. No. Your greatest team under Jurgen Klopp, I could name it for you now, player personnel wise.
Yes.
Alisson, Trent. You would say Matip, Van Dijk, Robertson.
Yes.
The midfield 3 of Henderson, Fabinho, and
Wijnaldum,
and the front 3. We all know who they are. There was a period of about 2.5 years in your best time where they only started about 7 or 8 games together. I remember the stat.
That's not true.
It's in a newspaper somewhere. I read the stat. So for me, the fact that they didn't start all their games together is irrelevant. It's part of the squad that he's with. However, let's go back to what my actual point was, because you've moved on to look who else he played with. I'm not actually worried about who else he played with, because I would agree that this City team is better than any Liverpool team almost in the history of football. Yeah, but better than any Liverpool team in history, potentially, if they win the treble, because everyone says Man United treble team is number one, and they're going to surpass us if they do it. So this City team is on course to become the greatest English team of all time. But let's just break that all down again and go back to the original point. What makes Gerrard, as you said, a superior technical football player to KDB?
Attribute for attribute, he just has more to his game. He's just the more complete midfielder.
Explain that, deep it.
Okay, I'll explain that. I think defensively, every single attribute you'd give to Steven Gerrard, whether it's tackles, whether it's, defensive positioning, defensive awareness, being able to play deeper, you'd give him that. I think shooting, definitely you're going to give to Steven Gerrard as a forward line, forward trait. Clutch moments, most goals by an English player in any finals. Only English player to score goals in every single final. Champions League, Carabao Cup, FA Cup, Community Shield, blah, blah, blah. He scored in every single final. So he's more clutch as well. Then you look at other attributes. I think he's better at set pieces. He's a better crosser of the ball, I'd say, than KDB. Passing, I'd only give KDB short passes. I think long passes I'd give to Steven Gerrard as well. So I just think the thing is with Steven is he is complete. Let's not forget, like, he is a complete midfielder. He's and don't get into the individual awards as well now, because all hell will break loose. So let's just say, for me, I really think KDB is basically a copy version of Steven Gerrard without the defensive side. But Gerrard he's the originator. So yeah, Gerrard's the Michael Jordan. KDB is the Kobe Bryant, basically.
Okay. I'm not disputing it. I'm just putting it out there. Viewers, you can have all your say on that. Better crosser of the ball and all of that. It's a big take there from Husam. Speaking of big takes, England.
That's what I'm here for.
England squads come out again, and Maguire, Phillips, Gallagher, Mings, all picked. No sign of Tomori again.
Let me put up the squad because you sent it to me. 1 second.
Yeah. Good, bad, and different. What do you think of the squad?
So who's missed out though? Because that's what I was trying to get my brain to. Who should be here? Who isn't?
Well, I look at it along the line. I mean, in terms of who shouldn't, I look at the situation and think to myself, Curtis Jones of late. Is Curtis Jones English? Or is he Welsh?
Yeah, he is.
He's English, right?
Yes.
Curtis Jones of late has been much better than Gallagher. Conor Gallagher.
I agree.
As an example of someone that should be in and around that team. Now, there's some good.
Calvin Phillips don't really play for City.
Calvin Phillips barely played. Maguire not kicked a ball. You got Tomori that was just in a Champions League semi-final. Again, individually, I thought he played very, very well.
He did.
Nowhere near this squad. You got Jacob Ramsey that should be looked at. Now, I know this other guy's team's getting relegated, but I still look at Ward-Prowse and think Ward-Prowse has had a much better season than Conor Gallagher and Calvin Phillips, even though he's in the team.
And I don't think Henderson should be here either. Yeah, objectively, our worst player all year long.
Honestly, I understand that the one I get, Maguire is in the first team for England and has never put a foot wrong for his country. So I do accept that one. But some of these guys aren't even kicking balls for their club, and they're not even first team players for England. It makes almost no sense to me whatsoever. It really makes no sense to me.
I think you look at this, here's listen, Southgate is such a debated topic for some reason. I have no idea why. Southgate really he just shouldn't be England manager. I'm gonna just cut the BS here. He just we've seen, and Terry knows what I'm about to say. Look, international teams, sometimes you get players that play a lot better for national team than they do club. Perfect example. So it's not a Jordanian or English player. Let's use Diego Forlan. Diego Forlan objectively played 100 times better for Uruguay than he ever did for any club he played for. Even when you look at the season he won the Golden Boot for Atletico, etc., he was always better for Uruguay. So I would get if Forlan went, a year without scoring a goal and they still called him up. I look at the squad right here. I have it in front of me. Harry Kane, for example. Let's assume, for the sake of argument, Harry Kane scored 3 Premier League goals next season, I still would say he needs to be in there because you wouldn't trust anyone more than Harry Kane in a one-on-one. The others, though, like you could really switch out a whole lot of these. Like Calvin Phillips, you got that as a problem. Anderson's a problem. Conor Gallagher is a problem. The forward line I think is fair. I think it's a fair forward line. The defenders, Maguire. You've got Mings in there. Mings has been okay post Unai Emery. Goalkeepers as well. Like,
but there's
I
no Pope.
wonder.
There's no Pope.
There's no Pope. And there's another thing. I wonder if Aaron Ramsdale is finally going to be the starter as well for England, because
he might
people
be.
have been talking about that. People have been talking about.
He might be. I just look at it sometimes, and I just kind of want the England squad.
Can I just say one thing before you? Let me just say one quick thing. Let me tell you exactly what's going to happen first England game.
Oh, sorry. Someone just said that Pope's injured. Pope's got an injury. I didn't realize that. Fair enough. That makes sense.
Yeah, my bad. So let me just say one thing about this Trent thing, right? I remember when Southgate played Trent in midfield, and Jurgen Klopp came out and said, "I don't know why you'd play the best right back on earth in midfield." I promise you, first England game, Trent is going to be in midfield. Promise, he is not going to be in the defenders section the next time. I promise you right now.
I'm not surprised. I mean, that's one thing though that we've got to congratulate Gareth Southgate for, because he saw the innovation. He started the trend of playing Trent in there. He absolutely did, and got a lot of stick for it. And now Jurgen Klopp has copied Southgate and is doing exactly the same thing. So I get it, but I just honestly, like, I'm glad Trent's in the team, because I do think we need creativity. We just need to find, because the way we play football is different from, and this is one of the biggest reasons why a lot of the United players and Arsenal players struggled with England in the 90s and noughties, when our teams are brilliant, but for England we're not. It's because you need an England manager to play a style of football which is similar to how you play at club level. If you play at club level in Pep style, but your international team plays like Sam Allardyce, that is a culture shock and a half. It's a culture shock and 100%. A half. We were better off in them days picking the lesser players that were used to that style of football. They probably would have done better, because at the end of the day, it's alien to you. Man United and Arsenal were playing football like no England team was playing for years. The way England play now, with far more technically gifted players that come through England because of the way the academies work now, I am so gutted that players like Scholes and Gerrard and Rooney weren't young now. Put their ability in the modern day game, and and the way players are trained through academies. I remember listening to Sir Alex Ferguson talk, and I know this it's changed about 10, 11 years ago. Up until about 10, 11 years ago, they could only do for 5 times a week, 1 hour of ball training with academy players per day. Where Fergie was saying in Europe, as an example, their academies can do up to 5 hours a day. So he said that when a kid from 5 years old till 16, 17-year-old is trained, imagine someone that gets 3.5, 4 hours of ball training per day versus a player that's only had an hour per day as a kid.
Obviously, that's going to add up. Like,
you can't catch up. Now, when I used to do martial arts, I was part of it. There weren't many of these in the UK at the time. We were a full-time martial arts center, so the building was open all day. It wasn't like an hour and a half twice a week in a community center. It was a full-time martial arts gym. It was a kid that went to my school, and he always said he was better than me. I'd been doing it for 15 years longer, and I'd only been doing it about 8 at the time. But I'm like, mate, I train 5 hours a day, 6 days a week. You do an hour and a half twice a week. I said, in the space of 3 years, I've surpassed. In 8 years, I've done so much. If you add, it would take you we did the math once, 30, 40 years to train as much as me. I said, trust me, I'm better than you. We did a thing at school where we did his karate club versus my kickboxing club. We did fights against each other and have referees. Oh, we battered them. We battered them. It was a great day. Walking back into class after lunchtime when we beat them up. And by the way, this was legally beating them up at school. I could legally have a fight at school. It was great. But
did you fight him?
I fought him. Yeah, I smashed him up. I smashed him. It was so fun. A few illegal kicks in there as well. You got to do it. It was great. It was a great day. I always remember that. It was I remember walking back into class. I was only about 15. I walked back in the afternoon. I had IT. Walked back into the IT room, and I remember these 2 girls. They were twins. One turned around to me and she said, Terry, she went, you were amazing. I was like, yes, get in there. I loved it. It was great. That Friday night out was night as well. Anyway, we digress away from the point. There's some super chats here. First one says, Klopp used Trent in the inverted right back role, completely different to straight up midfield. The Southgate doesn't deserve credit, plus no White. Firstly, it's a bit of a joke. It doesn't need to be taken seriously. And yeah, no Ben White. I am a little bit shocked by that. However, when you've got Trippier and Trent Alexander-Arnold
and Walker.
No, Walker's not in the squad. Oh no, he's in there. Yeah, when
He
you've
is,
got those
yeah.
three, there is no room for Ben White. But then you could use him as a centre back. But yeah. If you're looking at right back only, Ben White isn't as good as those three at right back. So yeah, I do kind of get that. Southgate said Trent's new role is interesting. Southgate doesn't have the ability to use that role, especially with Maguire starting.
I think they could invert him if they play three at the back. More cover.
Yeah. Why are City players not good internationally? Haaland is.
Because no, Haaland's not.
Yes, he is. He has
Odegaard's
21.
the best Norwegian player.
But Haaland doesn't mean that Haaland ain't good as well. Because
have you seen their qualifier group for the World Cup?
Beckham was England's best player when Gerrard was in his pomp. Doesn't mean Gerrard was bad.
No, I agree with that, but that's a star-studded team. It's different. I expect Haaland to shine in that team.
Haaland scored, I think, 21 international goals in about 23 international games.
Bro, 7 of them was like against Moldova or something. Come on, what are we doing?
Maybe, but all teams stat pad against them. I thought that the levers with Barca weren't working. How are they getting the money for this? Don't get me wrong. But they're selling people. And this is the one thing I'd say. People keep saying De Jong's going to stay at Barca. And I'm like, they're trying to sign Kimmich and they're trying to get Gundogan. They've got Gavi and Pedri. De Jong, it's because they need to get rid of De Jong. De Jong's on £70 million a year. They've got to get rid of him. And United bound, babe. I hope we get him. I hope we get that boy. What would be the likely outcome of City being punished? Will Bayern lose the league? Will Bayern Munich lose the league? I hope Bayern Munich lose the league. I'd love Dortmund to do it, but you never know. And the punishment for City, I think if they get found guilty, there'll be a points deduction, and they might get banned from the transfer window for a year or so. I don't see them being stripped of titles, and I don't see them being kicked out of the league. Although, if they're found guilty of all the financial charges, they should have
They should be stripped.
Everything should be stripped. Everything should be stripped.
Juventus got stripped, by the way, so everyone knows. If you Google right now, 2006 Serie A winner, Inter Milan would pop up, even though Juventus won.
There we go. The COVID Cup is when they changed the rules mid-year from three to 5 subs, from full stadiums to empty stadiums, and adding water breaks. Husam waffle.
That's literally the year you won it. That's literally 2020, 2021. The entire stadium was empty for the whole year as well. And there was water breaks. This guy, Mojis, man, do better next time.
This is from Honesty. Says, off topic, in my opinion, Chelsea can either do a madness in the season or will they completely go to crap? Do you see Chelsea bouncing back next year?
Chelsea aren't, I don't know, people say maybe Chelsea are in a top 4 race, etc. I don't see them even in a top 4 race. I think it's just a step. Chelsea really are in a rebuild. This goes back to our previous conversations. Like, Chelsea is the definition of a rebuild. New manager, so many new players, adaptations, you're trimming the squad, blah, blah, blah. Chelsea are in a rebuild. Listen, Pochettino gives you good football, players develop, you stay fit, you get 5th, 6th, 7th. You know, that's it. Like, I don't see, bro, you're literally 12th. Like, there needs to be like a little bit of an improvement there.
I hear you on that. 1 second. I just need to write something here. By the way, people, make sure you're following our Football Terrace TikTok. The link is in our description below and in the live comment section. So go and give that a little follow over there. Lots of new content coming your way over the summer on that. I've also posted it back in the live comment section. I want to speak a little bit about Arsenal, because this here from 0 Degrees says Arsenal made me choke. It's football's greatest joke. They've bottled more chances than other teams, but they're going to go big this summer. There's big talk of Rice. There's big talk of Caicedo. They're giving massive wages out, huge wages out to the likes of Saka, and Ramsdale's had a pay increase, and there's more to come. Do you think they're going to go for it and try and improve enough to win next year? Or do you feel as though the way this season ended is the best it's going to get for Arsenal? Now that we know the outcome, we haven't spoke since. Is this it, in your opinion?
I'm so disappointed in Arsenal. I'm really so disappointed in Arsenal. Since we last spoke, they lost 2 games in a row. Brighton and Nottingham Forest. The fact that this is the most embarrassing thing for me. Man City players did a watch-along. They sat there and did a watch-along expecting that Forest get something against Arsenal. That in itself is a massive embarrassment. And people come tell me, Husam, the only difference between us and you is, you were a better loser. It's more than that. It's the fact that you're actually gonna finish now on the same points as Brendan Rodgers' Liverpool. And if in a theoretical world, us in 13-14 and you from this year were in a title race, we'd win it based on goal difference. And here's the biggest kick. Our defense of Sacco and these guys was actually stronger than your defense. So this is the problem with this whole thing. Yes, of course,
Okay,
finishing
let's go
second.
run to the bathroom.
No problem. Finishing second is finishing second. So you can't really, I'm not going to sit up here and glorify finishing second. But there is honor in going down with a fight. Going down with a fight. Honestly, Arsenal fans, listen, Arsenal fans, you guys know I love you. I have no problem with Arsenal fans. But let's just be real. Let me just, me and you, be honest for a second. There is real honor in going down with a fight. Even if you went into the last game day, not even you can win it or anything, but just, with a hope, you're 1 point behind, with 2 points behind. There was a little bit of an honor in a loss, So I'm not saying like everyone would have still went like, haha, you bottled it and all that, but you would feel so much better about your own club. I don't think you as Arsenal fans even like the way you guys gave up. It's the truth. You guys probably yourselves don't like the way you lost to Forest, lost to these guys. You'd have much rather like at least won, these last 3, 4, 5 games, end of the season a little bit on a high. Thank you for the guys are getting. I'm not even being banterous. I'm just being real. Like, there is honor in going down with a fight. The problem with Arsenal is they just went down without a fight whatsoever. And it's not even on smoke. It's not even on all of that. It's just they showed no fight, no real passion, nothing. Like they just went down like that. And they're like, nah, you go win it. I've given up. That's the one thing I don't like about them. I think, they could have at least won the last 4 or 5 games. Go into the last game of the season, with at least a hope of winning it. If, that day there's a godly miracle and City somehow lose it. But now, City don't even have to sweat. They put out a bunch of random players for Chelsea to give them a guard of honor. Like, it's just all of these things you have to think about. And for me, there is no glory in second place. That's why last season I called our season a failure. However, there is a little bit of an honor when you go down with a fight. There's difference between losing a boxing thing in 12 rounds and getting knocked out. The problem is Arsenal were winning up until the 6th round and then they just got knocked out. So I'm not saying you need to give me a trophy for finishing second and fighting, but no, of course not. But at least people even look at your team with a bit more respect because you're like, okay, at least they went into the last game with a little bit of a hope. I was actually 45 minutes away because Villa were 2-0 up last season from being a Premier League winner. So like it was really this close. As when it comes to this transfer window, me and Terry have consistently had this conversation and are in agreement with this whole Arsenal thing. Bro, they need ceiling raisers. All this young, develop, potential crap. It's funny. Terry asked me earlier on in the United section about Harry Kane. I think if Arsenal get Harry Kane to do the Sol Campbell, now, Terry, now they're cooking. Now you're talking about Kane, Saka, Martinelli. Lord have mercy. So you're getting someone who can do all the Jesus things and can put the ball in the back of the net. So you're talking about someone who is absolutely complete on that level. So this is why I'm saying you need ceiling raisers. So the same way I spoke on my club, I'm being honest. I said Mac-Allister could be a part of a brilliant window or a horrible window. Rice could be a part of a great window or a horrible window. Caicedo could be part of a horrible window or a great window. You go this summer. Let me show you how being dead serious I am. If you sign Rice, Caicedo, and a striker, I think you could win the Premier League. So you can't sit up here and go like, he's young, youth, inexperienced.
What players?
If they sign Rice, Caicedo, and a striker, they win the league.
Wow.
Yeah, because but that's elevation. They need an Alisson and a Van Dijk window. Guys, think. Let me use my club so you guys don't get triggered as Arsenal fans. Think the Liverpool that almost done it. You take away Alisson, you take away Van Dijk. Give me 2 random young players. We don't win nothing. It's the truth. You need ceiling raisers. And I always mention this example because it's very just like from people who lived it. Gary Neville and Roy Keane spoke on this. When you buy world-class players, it's not even necessarily their impact on the football pitch. Sometimes they just elevate everyone around them. You're telling me Bukayo Saka and Martinelli are not going to elevate by playing next to the likes of a Kane or an Osimhen or great players like that? You're going to tell me Odegaard, who's already brilliant this season, isn't going to elevate next to a Rice and a Caicedo? Do you understand the double pivot of Rice and Caicedo is basically on 90% of the occasions impenetrable. You just can't stop. You just can't stop it.
Do you know what's interesting? I think you're. It's not guaranteed they'll win the league. If you bring in Rice, Caicedo, Usherman, with a sprinkling of other players that you'll buy to improve that squad, I think with City having won 3 on the bounce, the kind of not the deflated feeling you have the following year, but as you've already said, calling out what Pep said, the ability to go again is going to be harder. I think this Arsenal team should be motivated and hungry based on the way they've ended. It should fire them up. You bring in 3 players like that, plus sort of a seasoning of squad quality that improves what they've got now. And I think they've got every chance of winning the league next year. I think this notion, and what's really interesting is that there's this sort of view in terms of what you've said. You're criticizing their end of the season, so a lot of goodness will be like, screw you. We did really well. Yeah, you did do really well, but the ending, it doesn't actually befit the quality you demonstrated all year. Why did you fall off? Experience is part, but overall quality in your squad isn't quite there. And that is where certain Arsenal fans called out in the summer, our window hasn't been as good as everybody's making it out to be. And you've got it right there. But if they go out and sign that level of quality this summer, I wouldn't make them my favourites. I would still pick Man City based on history, but Arsenal would have a huge, huge chance. And that is why this summer, I think there should be no let up from Gooners. They should be on the goddamn necks of their owners every day. Forget the dog. Forget the new sponsors. Even to a degree, go, great, Saka new deal, really happy. Who you bringing in? Who you bringing in? It should be a daily occurrence until they get these things over the line. No PR, no nonsense. Give us the players we need to go to the next level, because for all intents
Can
and
I ask
purposes,
you a question, Terry?
that's all that should matter. Go on, mate.
Do you think they should go and do what they did last season? I'm going to tell you why. I ask you that question. There are Arsenal fans talking about signing Cancelo. There are Arsenal fans talking about signing Gundogan. Now, I understand what you're going to say. Cancelo and Gundogan are very good players. But do you think, just from a logic perspective, it makes sense to try pip a team to a league title by signing the players that want to leave that team?
Not by itself. Not by itself. So, like we just said there, if for instance they sign Caicedo,
yes,
and Rice and Osherman, and then they get Cancelo, then
yes,
that improves their team. I think Gundogan, if you take out Caicedo and throw Gundogan into that mix, I still think they can, with the striker and Rice, I still think they can do it. What they can't do is sign Gundogan, Rice, no striker, and no quality defenders, and go, that's enough to win the league. It has to be bigger than that. So I think they can, but it can't just be, we got Gundogan, he's won a league title, that's going to be enough. I think there needs to be far more than just that by itself. I think there's a big combination of things needed there, if that makes sense.
They need ceiling raisers. That's just the truth.
Yeah,
all this young youth, blah, 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 they can't do that anymore.
I think that's a great point. When you mentioned a minute ago, by the way, this is the guy, I ignored him every week. This guy kept on telling me that you and Liverpool were coming for Man United. Add that go.
There's a reason why his name's Drunk Vigo. But big up Drunk Vigo, man. He's one of the supporters of this channel and my one as well.
No, I appreciate it. I'm only bantering him. He gave me stick. It's funny. He gave me stick every single week for about a month. And then when Man United won at the weekend, you drew. He didn't show up. I was like, oh, he's not here. Zayn didn't either. All disappeared. There's some breaking news that's just come out of Germany, people, and it states, and I want to make sure I get this right, that, and you read this properly, Jeremie Frimpong is set to join Manchester United at the end of the season.
Right back.
Yes, right back.
But he's a lot more offensive, though. Right wing back.
He is.
Guy.
He is.
Yeah.
Again, the way I want my club to do this, if this story is true about Frimpong, the way I want my club to do this is get rid of Delo, bring in Frimpong, keep AWB. Yes. That's the way round to do it. And I know a lot of people rate Delo. Technical abilities, technical wise, he is better technically on the ball than AWB. But AWB is a specialist and he's needed for certain games. When you're up against a such a dynamic winger on the left-hand side. There are times where this guy's the right individual. There's going to be there could be times with our team where you might be able to play him and Frimpong together because one will sit back and defend, the other one will get forward and attack, depending on what's going on. There are multiple options if we do it that way around. You might have a game where we go, right, let's play three at the back, and you play AWB as the right-hand sided.
Do you think he can play right centre back?
Yeah, I think again against a team where we're going to be the aggressors and we're going to be the attackers. Yes, so you could have a game where you go, right, we'll play three centre backs and we'll have far more in midfield and down the flanks at home against bottom half the league teams. You can play both of them in games like that. And why that's important, and why that's important is rotation is going to be key for us next year because Man United have to fight on all four fronts. So with Delo, the problem is he's just on paper, but let's see how Frimpong translates to the Premier League. On paper, he's just a weaker version of Frimpong, which means if you have both of them, you've got no alternative. There isn't anything else that you can do. And someone says here, Frimpong can't defend. Yeah, but you wouldn't be bringing him in to defend. Equally, you play with four at the back. In the games where we're going to dominate the ball and be the aggressors, you're not going to have to focus on his defensive attributes.
Bournemouth at home.
Yeah. And this is the thing about a squad. And Fergie got this right, and Pep gets this brilliantly now. It's about horses for courses. You chop and you change. There could be a 4 or 5 game period where we use AWB over Frimpong. Because actually, in these games, we're up against good attacking teams. We need his one-on-one defensive abilities, and he plays. And then you might go for a 10-game stretch where suddenly Frimpong's the main guy again. And that, for me, is what I like about a deal like this. But that's a story coming out. Decent bit of business, if true. We'll see what's being said. Debbie here says, Terry, if somehow Man United bottles this transfer window, the fans, the players, and Erik ten Hag should stage a walkout. Look, we should have staged a walkout from this club 10 years ago. That won't ever happen. Look, if we get new owners, we won't be bottling anything. The only way we'll be bottling this window is if the Glazers stay. And then it isn't really bottling. It's business as usual. So, yeah, it's very... If we get the Qataris in, this is going to be one... If we get the Qataris with what Newcastle we're going to do, City already being here, the summer that Liverpool and Arsenal were gearing up for, it will be, honestly, the rest of football, the rest of football is outside the Premier League. Just go away because those clubs, they're not going to get beaten. They're not going to get beaten. They're not going to lose. Other than to each other, they ain't losing those transfer battles because they'll just offer the money that's needed. Can you imagine? Oh, it'd be beautiful.
That's going to be a Royal Rumble if everything you just said happens. Honestly, like I cannot. I don't think it's ever. I hate the fact we say this before every year. But I don't think it could ever be more competitive if it went through the thing you just described, which is basically the Arsenal-Liverpool windows happen and the money comes in and, Newcastle spend money and stuff. Because Newcastle ain't going to go down without a fight, by the way. Even if they drop off top 4, they ain't going to go down just like that. They're going to go down swinging. So, they're going to try their best to remain in that position. So, you expect them to make a couple of big signings as well.
Yeah, it's. By the way, I've quote tweeted you on the internet right now, and I've said Arsenal needs ceiling raises this summer. And hang on a minute, I need to edit it. I do this sometimes. Arsenal need ceiling raises this summer and should sign Harry Kane via hashtag #DomHussam6. That's what he said.
That would be beautiful. That would be beautiful, honestly.
Mate. Do you know what? I don't want them to get Harry Kane because I want them. I don't want them to get Harry Kane because I don't want Arsenal getting better. I want Man United to. But there is this evil little part of me that just wants to see the fallout of him going from Spurs to Arsenal. It would be, honest to God, there's 2 parts of it I'd love. All the Arsenal fans having to backtrack on all the shit they've written about him and tweeted about him in the last decade. And then just the carnage from Liverpool fans. It would just be nothing short of... You could just sit back and do a whole show just reading out people's tweets, and it would entertain the masses. It would be out of this world.
All you have to do is bring Egalin, all the Arsenal fans you have on the show, and tell them, what's your opinion on Harry Kane now? And they're all going to be 180 degrees on him because they see him an Arsenal fan.
I hear you, mate. I do. We have some more super chats here, I think. Blaze says, for Sam, Chelsea have made it clear they will be a major overhaul this summer, and they play 1 game a week with a reduced squad. So why will Liverpool be back but not Chelsea?
Brilliant question, Blaze. Here's the simple answer to that, Blaze. You're overhauling an overhaul. You also introduced all of that to a new manager as well. The difference between me and you is I already have the manager. I already have the spine. You as a Chelsea fan should know about spines because you had the spine for a long time and all you did was add on to that spine. The spine was Terry, Lampard, Drogba, Petr Cech, Ashley Cole. That was your spine. All you did was just add players around that and it still worked. So I'm not saying our players is your level spine, of course not. But we have the spine, we have the manager already set in. So all I'm gonna add into a good mixture, three good players and make it a great mixture. With you, the contents of the mixture is unknown. Like once again, the Pochettino factor. So he's got to come and develop these players. All the new players that are adapting still, present tense, still adapting. You are gonna add onto it extra players who still need to adapt. That's the problem. So it's totally different things, totally different scenarios, man.
I hear you on that. What I will say is though that this news has come out today about Chelsea. That Todd Bowley, this here states, and I'll read it all out. That Todd Bowley is dialing. This is from the business. This is from business. So this is like a serious outlet, Bloomberg business. That Todd Bowley is dialing down his involvement at Chelsea Football Club. People with knowledge of the matter said that he is refocused on other ventures after a difficult first season in charge of the football club. The US businessman is now spending about 20% of his time on day-to-day activities at the West London club, down from about 50%, but will have no real say barring finances over footballing decisions. And I think what's key about this is that's how Chelsea get back. They have to get these. I don't even mean it in a horrible way. They just got to get these uneducated. I mean uneducated on football, not uneducated in life, because Todd Bowley could probably sit down and school 99.9% of all people that use YouTube on business. But he has no idea about football. By the way, me and you couldn't run a football club either. We don't. Yes. We're fans, but we don't have the ability to run a football club. You need professionals in that role, and that's the biggest thing Chelsea can do this summer, barring deflating their squad, is getting all those American business tycoons and billionaires out of the football decision-making sphere and leave it to football minds.
You really think me and you can't run a football club? I think we can.
Not the size of Chelsea, we couldn't personally. I mean, I've run some decent-sized businesses and worked for some really big departments of a bank. But there's a difference between running a multi-million-pound, like being the head honcho of a club like Chelsea. Yeah, we just couldn't do it.
Do you think we could run Coventry?
No, I don't think we could. I think we all would. It's a bit like people that go, I could manage Bayern Munich to a league title. You couldn't. You really couldn't.
Fair enough.
Like legitimately. I mean, I couldn't run a bakery. I don't know how to. I'm not a baker. I don't know how to run it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like we all sit there and think about these things. Like my brother's a plumber. I'm like, that's easy business to run. It ain't. If you're not from those industries, you blow your mind out. This here says you're speaking the truth, Hussein. Arsenal crashed out at the end. It was pathetic how it ended, is what Ray says.
When you were gone, this is basically what I was saying. Listen, there's an honor in going down with a fight. You don't get a trophy for it, but at least go down with a fight. You know.
I hear that. Gunnar Jukes has agreed. A very disappointing end. Many Gunners angry about it. Arteta said it's a crucial summer for us, both signings and prep. Down to the Cronkies and Edu now. That's absolutely true. And the money. Stop chatting rubbish. Arsenal have no chance. Is that winning the league or getting Kane? The Kane stuff is a little bit sarcastic, facetious, not really real. I wouldn't take it too seriously, but thank you, Michael Ramsey. Always rated Kane, but if he joins Arsenal, I'll give him a stick, saying our Brazilian boys speak better English than him. They do, to be fair. They do. But most people speak better English.
Manny, you're gonna go delete tweets on Harry Kane.
Yeah, it's funny. 100%. If they
own it, Manny, own it.
Do you know what's funny? If they do sign him, this is. I know what a gal's gonna say.
Come outside, Tottenham fans. Where are you?
It'll be straight on that.
You know, a gal can tell you he was an Arsenal fan when he was a child anyway, so he's just playing for his boyhood club. They'd find some shameless shit to say about him.
Honestly, I would be straight away out there on advanced search on Twitter, getting all those tweets before they can delete them.
Screenshots.
It's why I never slag off players that I rate, even if I think they're joining a rival, because you never know, they might end up at your club. And then what you're gonna say? Like, I'm not someone who enjoys that kind of thing. I've seen YouTubers praise someone all year. They think they get him all summer. Sorry, they go to a rival and then they start doing videos about how bad they actually are. I can't believe it even gets traction. But maybe that's how a lot of people. maybe that's how
Liverpool
lots of
content
minds
creators
work.
doing it with Bellingham now. Everyone's acting like Bellingham's crap. So, you know,
Yeah.
listen, this is my fight, Terry. You know, the villain arc is about to start. Let this season end, and Husam is going to be back at it. The villain.
There we go. Listen, everybody that's tuned in today, I want to say thank you to you. Do us a favor and hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe to the Football Terrace as well. Check out Don Husam's channel, which is called
My channel. This is football. It's called This is Football.
Go check out This is Football now. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again very, very soon.